Nea Clare. And I got to go this way. Mary Catherine, are you on? You have your voice on?
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure. Sometimes, it's, you know what? I'm trying to, guys, I like to make sure that everything's working online. So I always pull it up. Forgot that I had this on airplane mode. So that's technology. Hi, everybody. If you're on with us, say hi. I'm going to move so that we can see any comments. Would love for you to say hi. So
this
that
is the after the channel.
That's right.
About what just happened.
Yes.
At the channel.
What is going on? And oh my goodness, hang on, my thing is going crazy. Why? I don't know. That's what's going on. So, how are you guys doing tonight? Hi, Pam. Hello, everybody. I'm glad you're on. We're just pulling this up and making, it's just not.
Shannon.
Hey.
Someone's on YouTube. I love seeing YouTube comments. This is so good.
I know, right? So we're on YouTube, so we do not have to be on Facebook. You can see me on YouTube. I try to do that, which is fun too. So it's good. I don't promote that as much, but it's available. So if you're not a Facebook person, or if you know people aren't, let them know. A lot of my stuff is posted out there. A lot of my meditations are out there. So it's a great way to get out there. So tonight we had a group.
Hi, Michelle.
A group channel, which I do every month. Hi, you guys. I'm so glad you're on. And every month it's different. Every month it's magical in its own way. And so for those of you who don't know me, I am Nea Clare, and I am a channel. I channel a collective consciousness called the How, the harmonic alignment and oneness. And I've been doing channeling for, I don't know, 8.5, 9 years. I don't know. It's a long time now. I remember I was like, I don't know. It's like a long time.
You've been around the block.
I've been around the block. Yeah, I've been doing this well. But I've been doing and Mary Catherine's been with me for so much of that time. Like you and I have been working together it's hard to believe. It's been like 4 years, I think. 3.5. Yeah, I know. We're going to have to look this up. She's been helping me with my group channels for a long time, helping set it up, making sure the questions go well. So one of the things that Mary Catherine and I used to do before we were doing everything virtually, we used to drive together to the group channelings, wherever we would go, and then we'd drive home, and she would download to me all the stuff that happened. Like, let me know what the themes were, what she picked up. And it was so much fun because channeling it's like a party I don't get to attend, right? So I invite everybody, we get all the cool kids, and then I say adios, and another entity takes over. So this
away.
Not oh no.
Some cool people come in and
that's right. And so she brought up last month, she's like, hey, what if we did this live thing afterwards? And I'm like, yeah, because channeling does not tire me out. I have tons of energy for it. Mary Catherine and I would be doing this anyway on our own. So why not share the joy of our conversation? So I will just open this up to Mary Catherine. Like she just lets me know. And then you guys, if you were on tonight, or if as things are coming up, I'm not going to do readings here.
Yeah. No.
But what I will do is, if you have questions about what we're talking about, post them in the comments. If you were in the group channel, you want to talk about a topic or something that came up, or something that was said, you want some more clarification, let's do it. That's what this is about. So we'll stay on probably till, I don't know, 9:45, 10 o'clock, depending on how engaged everybody is and how much fun we're having.
Yeah.
Fair? Okay. So I'll let you kick it off.
Yes, long time no see.
That's right.
Okay. Also, I just put lavender on my hands, and I realized that I was like smelling them in a weird way, and I have lavender on my hands, so like, I'm not trying to be weird.
Yeah. Mary Catherine Gallagher, we're pulling that out. No.
Yeah, right here. Love it. Well, okay, so I am super excited for what was said out throughout the whole night, because there was this theme, and it's been something I've really hardcore struggled with probably forever. since I've been born. I don't know, maybe that's an exaggeration. But the theme kind of was about, like, Nea started off talking about the eclipse. And then we also talked about in the How's message, they were talking about, setting sail and kind of being able to like let go and let the wind like push your boat. But then there was also this other side of it that came out throughout the night where it's like, when do you let letting things take the lead, but then also being able to open the door and step through the doorway on your own as well. So like finding that harmony between those two is something that I think I've always struggled with. And like, I'm either in that like I would even call it lackadaisical, but in that mindset of like, I'm just going to release and let everything like overtake and like whatever happens as long as my intentions are out there. But then I've also been that, like, I'm in that mode right now of like, I'm opening as many doors as I can because I just need to get to the next moment because I feel so stuck.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where our whole night was like, collaborating on and like co-creating with was like this idea of like, when do you open that door and step through on your own? And what do you let like spirit and whatever else is needed to like come through, even though it might be uncomfortable and there might be tears. Who cried tonight? Me. I did. It was great. I feel better.
Good.
This week, me. Many a time.
Yeah.
It was good. I needed
a week. Right?
So that's kind of what I think we should really go deeper into.
Yeah.
Is that like, especially because it's also, you have a coaching group coming up.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a great kind of thing coming up too, is this like idea of like coaching people through it, of like knowing when to take that action and knowing when to like stop.
Yeah. Right.
Rest.
Well, what I love about everything you're saying is, I think there's a way that we language things, right? Like, so language matters. Like the words we choose in our life matter. And maybe it only matters to someone like me. Like clarity matters to me. So, and if our thoughts create our reality, our words are really the expression of our thoughts, right? So our thoughts are up here, and then how we present them is really what we're landing on. And so one of the things that is kind of coming through with what we're talking about is this idea of like passivity, like that passivity is kind of allowing. Passivity and allowing are not the same, right? Passivity and allowing are not the same. We can be allowing, but allowing is an active engagement, right? We can allow things to happen in our lives. And it's not a passive action. It's not like, oh, everything's just gonna wash over me. No. Like we can be allowing, we can still hold space, we can still be present, we can still make choices moment to moment. But I think there's like this idea that somehow allowing or going with the flow means like having no say, or that everything's just going to come into place. And even if it's not truly what we believe, a lot of times that's how we're talking about it. Like, I'm just gonna wait and see how things come out. I'm just gonna let things go and see what spirit has in store for me, what God has in store for me. Well, nothing's changed. What God has in store for you has always been, or spirit has in store for you has always been. Like but it's a co-creative process. If you're not engaged in it, if you're not putting your sails up, right? Or putting your sails down, let's say, right? Because you put them down, drop the sheets, right? You let them go. So the wind that is spirit, the inspiration of spirit, can be caught and can be utilized in our favor. And I think that's kind of what we're experiencing right now with the last few weeks, and kind of what we're moving into in the eclipse season, is that a lot of people are just exhausted. they're just flipping exhausted. We've been working hard, we've been pushing hard, we've been trying to fit ourselves into doing the very best we can with what we have. I can't have what I really want because COVID. I can't have what I really want because money. I can't have what I really want because my husband. I can't have what I really want because I've got a toddler. That, I get that
Right.
one. So we have all these limitations and we're trying to manage through that. And when we're in that mode, it's the exact opposite, where we're trying to just do everything and not allow. Then if we're heads down trying to manage everything, which I don't know if you said this or if this was what you were talking about tonight. So
We'll find out.
really, it does this for me sometimes. Like I get these like weird hits where it's like a deja vu experience where I'm like,
Oh,
did we
yeah.
actually talk about this, Mary
Right.
Catherine, or am I remembering like the
Dream
channel?
it.
It's a really fun experience. But that thing where we're doing all the work,
Mhm.
but we're so busy doing the work that we're also not putting the sheets down because we're like, I'm not ready yet. I don't have all my stuff together yet. I
Sure.
haven't put this out. So we're not really willing to step into it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think something that also came up that I've also really struggled with is like we're all about the secret, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
like whatever you put out there comes back to you, and so like
Yeah, law of
I
attraction.
I grew up like around that as like a thing, and so I was always really scared of negative emotions
Yeah.
because I was really terrified that if I was angry that I would just be put in more situations where I was angry and like
Yeah.
sad or whatever. So like so this week I really acknowledged the fact that I was like angry and I was really sad, right? And I was asking kind of like the universe, the world, like, is this like what I'm supposed to be doing, is acknowledging like where I actually am and then like moving forward, or like do I just need to keep pretending like I'm okay because I'm not okay, or it wasn't at that moment.
Right.
But what happened in this channel tonight was it was very clear, and there's one person on, and I won't talk about any of that like personal stuff, but they were like, please acknowledge that like where you are and like how you're feeling, and it's like it's better to just acknowledge it and like breathe through it. And I thought that was so important
Mm-hmm.
because I still feel like a lot of times in the spiritual world, it's like good vibes only,
Yeah.
and it has that like, if you're not like high vibrating, then you can't be part of my circle kind of a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I really appreciated how much love and support there was in this group tonight, with this people being able to be authentically real with how they were. It wasn't like I'm fine, because like I admitted I was not fine. I was tired. I am tired. But that's not all about me. But the only way I can really like convey this to you guys without like me feeling like I'm just telling everyone's story is just through my lens, because
Yeah. And
So,
if anyone wants to share or wants to comment, I just
and Gail
see.
said something.
Yeah, she said, interesting that the wind and the sails came up tonight. When I go out on my property to meditate and ground, I often feel the wind come up and surround me. And that I love wind personally. And like I think it reminds me of spirit, that because that's how it feels for me when I move, like when I'm channeling. It feels like a breeze through a screen door. I'm the screen door, they just move right through me. Barb also said, if you are not paddling against the current, you can rest and still be making headway, right? It's true. We can, and we're always with, so this is the other thing, is that we're never not with the current. Right? It's just the story we're telling ourselves in that moment. So for example, what you're talking about, Mary Catherine, about like, I can deny my experience. I can deny that I'm pissed off, or that I'm angry, or that I'm sad or depressed. Like if I deny that because it's not good, it's not, I don't want to be where I am. The problem is that we're actually, let's just take that, let's extrapolate this, right? So Are we of God? That's your first question, I think. I think that's every one of our first question. Are we of God? Are we of God? And if that is true, then is there anything that is of God that is not divine? Right? Does God make mistakes? God's spirit, whatever you want to call it, is the universe in making mistakes? I don't believe so. So therefore, I think every single thing that is a part of our human experience. It's not to say we don't screw it up, right? By being out of balance, but every single thing that's a part of our experience, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, or etheric, if we want to say that, is divine and holy. Which means that if we say there are people, I'm not a big fan of the whole vibration conversation about negative emotions are low vibration. Um, you know, joy is higher than anger. Now, do I think that things that are out of balance? Yes. I mean, I could go there, but I don't think it has anything to do with how vibrationally high or low we are, because it's just another way of adding hierarchy, which we are in abundance of. Like, hey, I right now around the planet, your whiteness puts you here, your blackness or darkness puts you. I'm just saying it's the exact same
You're
thing.
right,
It's
though.
the
You're not
exact
wrong.
same measurement.
I see it.
Oh, I speak clear. I'm educated. I'm not educated.
Right.
I have money. I don't have money. So our brain puts us in these like, we always want to create a hierarchy. That hierarchy is completely a fictional construct.
Right.
So when we get down to it and say, okay, am I honoring my now experience as real and true? Right? Right now, I am angry. I'm resentful. That's a real and true experience. Now, it doesn't, like, if I'm spending time justifying it, or if I'm caught up in a loop that is perpetuating it,
Right.
that's not honoring it either. That's a different kind of dishonoring. So that, I think, is what we're talking about, is like, how can we honor our now experience as holy and valuable and worthy of our time and attention? And my answer in all that I've experienced is yes, 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 yes. We must, because everything else is just perpetuating, like, the dishonoring of the self.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what I really enjoyed about, and I, like, I'll preface everyone with, like, I've been coached by Nea for, I don't know, 3 years. I did coaching with group coaching. And I think that was something I really enjoyed about group coaching, is that, like, just like in channel, like when you go to a channel session with a group, like, everyone has a different question or a different, like, background or story or history. But in the end, like, it all kind of, like, we're able to have these conversations because we're all connected in such a, like, uneasy way that, like, we can find these patterns and pull them out and really speak about them. But I think that's what I also enjoyed about group coaching, was that you're able to, like, really just acknowledge where you are, and then kind of, like, take a step either back or like, just not necessarily back. I don't mean that, but just mean, like, take
sideways,
take a reset, like, hit a button of, like, let me just give you the truth. The truth is, I don't like fish and I work at a fish market. Oh, there we go. Thanks for admitting you don't like fish. Right. Let's figure it out, right?
That's right.
But I think that sometimes we're so used to, and I think with COVID too, is putting on this face of, like, it's okay, we're gonna be okay, like, this is unprecedented times. Well, like, in real honesty, like, life is unprecedented. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen when I get into my car tomorrow. Like, I could drive to work. It's not Sunday. Whatever.
Yeah.
We know what I mean.
Some Sundays are.
Sometimes you could drive to work, or you could decide to pull over to a quaint little cafe, and, like, all of a sudden you've changed and you've made a new action, right?
Right. Yep.
And I don't know where I'm going.
So I totally get what you're saying. I'm tracking your thought on this.
Someone needs
because
to.
I think so. One of the reasons that group channeling is so powerful is because first of all, everybody gets, for those of you who haven't been in a group channeling situation, is that everybody gets a question. They get to ask one question. And so you think, one question? Why would that ever be, such a thing? Well, the interesting piece is that there's always some level of a theme that comes up in the group. There's always some message that gets woven through the entire group. And one of the reasons I know this is because of Mary Catherine and my debriefs, and then what I hear from people afterwards. So you have this, and what happens is that there's an exponential impact of what happens in the group experience. And this happens whenever you get a group of people together who are sharing authentically, who are vulnerable, who are present with one another. What ends up happening is, instead of getting one question answered, you actually get a multitude of information that allows you to shape your thinking, your behaviors differently as a result of that experience. And the same is true of group coaching. And group coaching isn't great for everyone, because some people absolutely need one-on-one. Like one-on-one, like the group is a distraction because maybe they're a people pleaser, or maybe they really are good at hiding in groups and not putting themselves first. So they just hide out.
Been there.
And right? You just go, well, I'll just defer my question to everybody else. I'm just going to defer and defer. So how we do one thing is how we do everything, right? And so there's an opportunity to grow in that, but sometimes you're growing, like the benefit of the group coaching can be a detriment for some people. In other cases, what happens is it allows a sacred space for rapid expansion, rapid growth, and courageous, bold, and I will very much say imperfect actions, like being able to do something because you have the support of the group, and that you have a soft place to land no matter what happens. Like you can just boldly go there, and you know that you will be able to debrief and work through things and have the support. So it helps us move forward more quickly. And I think right now, I mean, I do group coaching every now and then. I do one-on-one coaching. I do these group sessions. What I will say is, right now in particular, like after this last year, it's been a year of a lot of self-awareness for people, because we haven't been able to escape ourselves. Like we're spending a lot of time with ourselves, where we're not distracted. We're not able to shop our way out of the problem. We're not able to, and shopping on Amazon isn't the same as like going and hands-on trying on like a gazillion outfits and grabbing. Like a lot of our compulsion, distraction behaviors have been limited. And so that's a buffer. That's that buffer that keeps us from that self-honesty, that self-awareness. Just like when we go, oh, I can't really be sad. It's the same buffer, right? Same kind of situation. So now we're left with ourselves and we go, well, I can face it. I can look at this and I can decide who I want to be. I can decide to see my patterns of behavior. And I know I don't want that anymore, but I don't know confidently how to move forward.
Right.
And that's usually, the big challenge that people have. So, and I think that was spoken to a bit tonight.
It was. And the thing I liked about it too is another person had obviously another question, because that's what we're asking questions. We're all here. That's what we're here for. But they were kind of let down. And the how was super sweet about it. And they made a statement that I thought was super good to hear of, like, you made a declaration of what you really wanted. And in the end, what ended up happening was because you would have been miserable and it wouldn't have been in alignment with the declaration that you really wanted. And that like brought me right back to group coaching, when you were like, declare what you want, like get in your vision and like keep going kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And it really struck me to remember that, like, even though because there was another theme of feeling stuck. Mm-hmm. And I think we all kind of have that, like, those feelings right now of feeling stuck, because we're kind of opening up, we're kind of not opening, like mask, no mask, shot, no shot, like whatever you want. But it was like, by having that declaration and knowing that you've already planted those seeds, even though you're not necessarily seeing the sprouts shoot up yet, like it's coming and it's happening. It's just that like you can't necessarily see it.
Right.
And like that was really a good reminder, I think, just for everyone who, especially if you feel stuck. I mean, and of course what you're saying of like, are you just not taking action, or are like, do you know what I mean? Like,
are you being passive in your life? Are you handing it over to God?
Right.
Or spirit or whatever, or your guides, or deferring all your decision making to others? That feels safe, but it actually maintains our stuckness. There was something that was said in, I was teaching a class that just ended this last week, called Your Open Channel. And it's intuition, like an intuition development workshop, which was a lot of fun. But there was a statement that was said that it came out of me, and I was like, that's really important. And of course, right now it just like left my head because I had a whole other thought that popped in there, which is really funny. Let me think if it comes back. Go ahead.
Were you talking about waiting for your gift to show? Is that what you're getting at?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Thank you. Wow. Yeah. Good. You remember. Yes.
Here for you.
Yeah. That was awesome, Mary Catherine, because you weren't even in the room, but you and I talked about this. So it's the idea of, we're waiting to know. We're waiting to know all the time. And I'm like, just pick a direction. Pick a direction. Just pick anything. Like, who cares? Pick Reiki today. And if you hate Reiki, stop doing Reiki. But at least now you know it's not Reiki. So that'll put you much closer to what you love. Just moving gets us going. Like, what is it that you're waiting for confirmation on? What is it that you're waiting to know? For the last 2 years, and this is no joke, I have been feeling like, I don't know where I want to go with certain things in my business. I've been like, like this. I didn't stop and wait. I just keep doing things. And there have been things I've done over the last years that I've never done before. I did meditations every day. All this last year, I did meditation. I did book groups. I did things that I never thought. And I had so much fun and I loved it. But what's very interesting is in each one of those, I found things that I loved and I found other things that I didn't love. And it helped me actually get more clear about what I enjoy doing with my time and how I like to spend my time with the people I love working with. And I got a lot of time this last year working with people I love, like that I want to see and that I want to hear what they're up to. That like hit me so strong. I'm like, I want to work with people I love working with. Like, wow, like that seems so obvious. But I love a lot of people. But there were like, what was really interesting is I'm like, oh, these are really like people who are doing amazing things in the world, like and are ready to do amazing things. It's both and I get so excited.
Yeah.
So, but I wouldn't I could have sat back and just kept doing what I was doing and not take any action.
Well, and the first step though and it's something that we always talk about in coaching too, but the first step that I know you did was you asked questions. And that was kind of like another thing that came up in the group of like, why don't you just start asking questions? Like, you don't necessarily need to whenever I think of take action, I think of a like the verb of like a physical action, right?
Yeah.
Or not necessarily a mental or an emotional thing. It's more for me like a physical, like I'm driving kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But even just something as simple as asking the question of, where's my next job going to be, or what area should I look at, or what, You know
what we should say? Skip taking action. Say use a verb. Just use a verb. Use a verb.
Use a verb.
Get out of the nouns. Get out of the nouns.
Yeah.
Just use a verb.
Any verb will go with it. Like a co-creative space of living that's in budget. Where are you? I don't know. It shows up.
I love it.
But you know what I mean? Like, I think that was also really nice to hear. And there was also this theme of rest and like knowing that you can rest and you're still moving forward and things are still growing and happening. And I see you looking up, which means that you're getting a hit on something. So I'm stop talking.
That's right. Boy, you know me well. So what literally just was popping in about that is there has been a lot of language all around the planet over the last like year, but it's been elevating and elevating and elevating, like about this urgency.
Yes.
Right? Yes. It's like we have to act now. We have to do this now. And I'm like, why? I know that's like what I will say is it's always now. It's always now. Like, but it's not about get it perfect or get it right or fix it or raise your vibration and fix the planet. Like, how about just be present? Be here now. Do what's in front of you to do. Do it with joy. If you can't do it with joy, at least do it by honoring yourself and then keep moving. But there is no marathon. You know, there's no sprint. It's like yeah, there is a marathon, right?
No, you know what's funny? They said it the exact same way in the channel, and I was like, huh?
That's so funny.
Good that you're saying it like that and then correcting it.
Yeah, it's so funny. But it's not a race in any case. That's probably why they said it that way now that I'm sitting here laughing about it. Rest has provided some growth for me this past few weeks, Brian. Yeah, I mean, like
Brian.
And Brian, the fact that you oh yeah.
Urgency is self-made misery. Oh, Michelle. Guys, we need to make these like our new like quotes.
I love it.
Throwing them out into social media. Like, let them all know.
It's so important to feel that, like realizing what we are doing to ourselves all the time. And how do we oh, the house said that. Okay, well, we'll capture that. That's a good one. Because I think we are buying the hype most of the time. Like, think about all the things that catch our attention, use our energy. All you have to do is go, is that now? Is that in this present experience? Is this true for me right now? Does this require my attention, my energy right now? And do I know for a fact that this is true, or am I getting wound up because something is spinning out here? And so urgency is one of those things that it creates this experience that we have to pay attention. We have to do something. And it literally bypasses reason. It bypasses our thinking. And our thoughts are important. Our brain is here for a reason. It's important. And urgency is one of those things. Panic, fear. We'll just get all wonked out about that. And there are things to be, it's not that you fear is also something that is inherent in the human condition, but we over index on it.
Oh my God, Barbara!
I bought the hype. It was on sale. And I had a coupon.
Oh my God, I love this.
This group is just too funny. I love it. That's awesome. That's a T-shirt. Just so you know, Barb. I mean, like I would buy that T-shirt like stat.
Yeah.
You need to make that T-shirt. I love it. I bought the hype. It was on sale, and maybe I had a coupon. I
mean, like when you think about it too, like I think something that really was just like a really great visual for everyone to think about too with this whole hype situation is like, think about when we were like running out of toilet paper and like people were buying toilet paper and milk and it was like this huge crazy thing and we were all fine. Like we never ran out of toilet paper. Was it hard to find because people bought the hype and like ran for it? Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
But we all made it through.
That's right. And you know, most of us have a tree or a bush nearby. I mean, the world was not going to end. We have old sheets if we had to cut them up. I mean, like literally, it's not the end of the world.
Diapers.
I know. These are the things, but we get caught up in it. And it's purposeful. When I was teaching, I had a really good mentor when I started teaching, doing training, and he taught me, he goes, Nea, whenever you need people to pay attention, start speaking faster. Start speaking faster and start talking to them like they already know the answer. Talk to them in this way. And I'd be like, okay, why would I do that? He said, because their entire brain will shift into, see, I know this. I already know this. This is great. And they're keyed into their optimal attention by doing that. Because what did I do? I created a sense of urgency and importance. And they go, what? Like, daydreaming over, like whatever I needed them to take action on. And it was, I remember that sits with me all the time, because that's what marketing does. That's what people who are in sales are doing. The goal is to get people to not trust themselves, to not go within, to not check in, to not go, is that true? Does this require my attention today? Does that feel to me like that aligns with what I know the world to be, the universe to be, God to be?
Yes. Okay. This is a great segue, because we did talk a little bit about this, and not necessarily the marketing side of it. We talked about how, like, we grow up, and this is so true. You grow up, you learn, right? And even in class, like, you raise your hand and say the answer of a math question, and you have to wait to be told if you're right or not, right? So we go through school, and we're in this mindset of, I have to be told from the outside in when I'm correct, right? So it makes it really hard, unless you're like nurtured when you're like really young, of like, you know, what is your tummy telling you? It makes it really hard for you then to, like, how would you know? Like, how would you trust yourself, other than if you had like really big moments where you like, oh, I knew I shouldn't have gotten the car and yet I did, and this was the result, right? But again, that's another consciousness that has to kind of be there. So the fact that, like, you know, we're kind of having to learn to really trust our intuition and our inner knowing, you know, and not necessarily, like they were talking about how we look so much to the outside for the confirmation of what we're feeling inside, that we might miss our own inner knowing.
Yeah. Well, it's that is, there's a design in that. Now, somebody, when I say that, I'm not saying that Big Brother wants this. Like, that's not what I mean. Like, I just, it's not my cup of tea.
I see the conspiracy theorists coming out now.
Right? No, it's not that so much, but what was designed likely for safety, right?
Sure.
The role of the parent is to protect the child from getting hurt. So what we do is we go, you don't know what's right. You don't know that it's going to be okay. I can imagine, as the mom, I have mom vision, by the way, as every mother does. And sometimes, you know, people who aren't moms do, that you see, like, oh, I bet you do, Mary Catherine, like, where you can see the thing happening. Like, you see the kid running out into the street.
Oh God.
And it never happens. But I have seen my children get decimated numerous times in here, right? So it's an awful experience. It's an absolutely awful experience. And so what do we do is we protect them. We go, no, mom knows best. Mom knows best. The church knows best. The church knows best. Government knows best, right? And so what we do is in order to protect and preserve certain things, we go, trust us. Don't trust that inner wisdom, right? Don't trust your inner knowing. Don't trust your spidey senses. Don't trust all the experiences that are built into your divine vessel to guide you. It's not that, I don't think it was ever done out of maliciousness, but what we're talking about is literally lifetimes, decades. That's why when people talk about clearing lineage, they're not just clearing the trauma of the lineage. We need to clear the structure of the lineage that everybody bought into.
Right.
And it begins by knowing and trusting yourself. And when you know and trust yourself, and that's I don't think that's a like end goal. I don't think you achieve that like going from Minneapolis to San Francisco. I made it. Like, I don't think it's that. Right? I wish. If it is, I want to meet the person who's done it, but I do think it's like a muscle that you exercise, and you have to continue to put your attention to go, what do I know? Is that right for me?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a line, like when you know right, and each one of us knows it in a certain way, like we just feel it in our bones, like we go, that is right. Like when you hear someone speak, they speak about, their perspective on something, you're like, I never thought that just resonate. Like I get it. I can feel it. I know it. I embody it in that moment. And that's, I think, more of when I think about when we talk about ascension or when we talk about expansion, that's what I think we're coming. I don't think it's a place to get to as much as it is learning how to use a muscle that most of us have let atrophy.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
It's like doing a push-up when you haven't done a push-up in like 20 years.
Or centuries.
Or
Like
centuries. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, to the point where it's kind of like the appendix. They really, up until what, I think it was 10 years ago or 12 years ago, there's no purpose for it. Just rip it out of there. And there's good reason to get rid of it. But they've also found that it helps with the bacteria of the gut. There's a certain thing that it produces. So it actually does have a function. Who knew, right?
I know that.
Right? These are the things. So the more that we know, the more we expand.
Right.
The more and we're living in a time where we actually have access to so much more than we ever have on all levels.
Yeah. Well, and whether it be like fake news or not, or whatever it is, I think that's another thing that like is great is like going back to like, well, does this feel right to me?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to make my own decision and go forth and live, the way that
absolutely.
I need to live.
And here's the thing with that, right? Is that fact, an experience happens, right? It happens. It doesn't mean there aren't perspectives on it, but the question of whether it happened is not really in question. You can have an opinion about whether you think that is. Your opinion is over here, and we all have the right to our opinion. But what has happened is we've put both facts and opinion on the same experience, which neither one are about a spiritual experience. But what it does is human beings have a natural need to connect. And one of the ways that we connect is in sharing our experiences. And when things that we all go, the sky is blue, and people start going, no, green, purple,
Ooh.
always been purple. I don't even know where you're getting this blue from. Like we all start to go, no, but see now science and nope. And so what happens is that it literally, what it does, it's not even about the problem is not about the fact or the fiction or the opinion, right? It's not about that as much as it is now we have no way to connect, and that is a basic human need. And if there's no way to connect, then what we are is alone, and that is a scary place. And that's what we're experiencing. And there is a deep heartache, deep functioning heartache on this planet right now because of that. And whether you want to call it awake or whether you want to call it that inability to communicate and to hear each other or to have commonality is really causing pain on this planet. And I remember years ago, I was a guest in the audience on the Oprah Winfrey Show. I was not
Sorry, I just love her.
on the stage. I know, right? I was not on the stage. I was a guest of a guest, I should say. But we stayed at the Omni Hotel on, with the Oprah Winfrey Show. They put us up because my aunts and my mom were all invited back to be in the audience to help perpetuate the conversation. But the question was, the whole show, and is, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy?
Mm.
And I will tell you, when I was 21 years old, my perspective at that time, hands down, was I'd rather be right.
Sure.
And over time, that question has never left me and has been a guiding force in my life. I will tell you, there's no mistake that was the show I was on, that's what was going on. And today I just go, right. I don't need to be right. I need to find a way to happy. So, and happiness might be, I have to let things go. And that's
I mean, you know what's really interesting about that is at work we always we have this like running joke, and it's kind of a joke, but it's kind of like a check yourself moment. But it's like we ask each other like, "Is this the hill you want to die on today? Like, is this what you like? If like, are you upset and are you gonna start fighting about this today? And if it's like, I don't know, if it's something ridiculously ridiculous, and then you're like, well, no, but I want to,
right?
You know, like you acknowledge that, like, okay, no, this isn't the place I'm going to do it. But like, do I secretly really want to fight you on this? Like, maybe, but I'm not going to, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's it. It's there. Like, if you care about it. Last year, I spoke about something it was on Good Friday. It was not it was a year ago, Good Friday. I remember this because it really struck me, and it was on the topic of conviction. If we're going to use our words, are we convicted in our words? Because when we are speaking, like when I'm speaking and I'm sharing my position, I don't need everybody to believe what I believe. I don't expect it. I would not call anyone else stupid for not believing. But if I were brought in front of a tribunal, or if somebody was accusing me of something, would I stand in my conviction? Would I stand behind my words? I think that's important. And so what you're talking about is, I'm bitching, right? I'm going to bitch about this. But am I going to do anything? Am I going to follow this through with something? Nope. I'm just going to bitch. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
That's the level we're talking about. But right now, a lot of people, the way they're talking is that they are convicted, and are they really, if they were really in that situation? And that's what we have to all be checking ourselves for. Are you really, would you stand on your word? If you were brought to trial, if you were brought in front of a group, would you stand by what you believe? That's not an easy question. If you can just go flippantly, yes, of course, no problem. You haven't thought about that question.
Well, especially if it's a question or if it's an opinion that is not of favor in a group. Like if everyone in the group believes that the sky is yellow and you're the only one who sees that the sky is blue, then like standing up for whatever you want to say is like, honestly, for me, like I would probably be a bit more passive in that if I wasn't like 100%, like my core was struck and I was like thunder in my bones.
Right.
You know?
Right. But that's what we have to kind of pay attention to.
Yeah.
Because it's moved from this is my opinion on this to this is it. That's where that's very divisive, and it makes communicating really challenging. Do you know what I mean? And when we can't communicate, we can't relate. And human beings are all about relation.
Well, we can't listen.
Right.
You know, like I sometimes just feel like, and I think this is where I get frustrated at times with just where I am, is with like the universe. And I'm not like blaming, like, I don't want you guys to think that I'm like passively blaming all of my problems on the universe not listening to me. But I have moments where I just like, you know, in the movies when like this, like someone's on like the edge of a cliff and the rain is going and then like they're like they scream and then like thunder happens and lightning and they're like, ah! And like that's what I sometimes feel like is like, are you listening? Like, is it coming? You know, because there's no outside confirmation, you know, coming in and saying this is God and God is telling you that it will come, but you must wait 3 years. If someone were to tell me that I need to wait 3 more years in the job that I'm in currently, I don't know if I would have the mental capacity to be able to handle the knowledge that I could do it, right? But if I just kept going and taking action and kept making like, you know, myself happy in whatever way possible, and then 3 years roll by and I have a new job and I then like,
so let's pause, because this is important what you're talking about. Right. I'm going to pick on you a little bit.
Pick on me, go for it. I'm here for this.
I think so. Let's take this, because I know right now there's deep desire
Sure.
to shift gears,
Yeah.
right? Right now, there's also a deep frustration that to get to that seems like you're crossing a chasm filled with alligators
Yes.
and
Oh yeah.
sharks,
I
and
will
right,
100% own that. Yes.
right.
Yeah.
So what God has to say really doesn't matter, because it's
Right.
not about 3 years or 2 years, or is it real? Because here's the thing, is that the desire is already, it's it within you, which means that it is entirely possible, right? So we don't desire what is not possible for us, right? There's always a possibility in that. So now it's a matter of something in the actions that you're taking is not a, like, there needs to be some tweaking, right? Maybe it's more, maybe it's more that and I'm not speaking from a place of knowing exactly all this, but maybe
Yeah.
there is like a more passive, like nonchalant way that you're going about the job search versus I know what I want, I'm going after it, I'm going to get it. So both both of those get different results. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that either one is less frustrating.
Oh yeah. No.
Right? So it's, but when we get really clear about what we want, when we start to move in that direction and we take every single thing as a instead of as a personal affront, we take it as a learning opportunity. We keep moving. We get that stamina going. But you and I were talking about this the other day. There's a need to kind of prime the pump. And I was thinking about dating. I think I used this
Oh yeah,
example.
this is perfect because we did talk about dating a little bit on the call this tonight.
Oh, okay.
Great. I love this. Please keep going.
So I, first of all, just so everybody gets this, is I used to interview for jobs for fun, and I used to go on dates because I just wanted to see how they'd go. So I'm
Can't relate.
clearly, like, I'm a raging extrovert, number one. And two, I just like the challenge, right? I just want to know I can do it. So I used to do this stuff for fun. Part of the reason I did it for fun is because I wanted to get over the nervousness that comes with wanting to want a job. So if I could master interviewing, I knew I could get the job that I wanted. That was my thinking. So I did it like an Olympic sport. I would just go and interview, and I did well, and I got more and more confident and more capable of interviewing. Now I'll tell you, as somebody who hasn't interviewed in a really long time, if I had to go and do it, I would be like, right? But that was my attitude. I love that, Gail. I need more of that, right? Not everybody would approach it this way, but that was how I approached dating too, where I was like, you know what? Everyone is just one step closer to the better guy, right? That's how I approached it, because some were great and they didn't like me, but I liked them, and it some were, oh my God, how did I get on this date? I remember, like, it was crazy, or the weird situations, having my friend pick me up in the middle of a date. I remember all the things, but it's so funny because everyone was like, oh, I just kind of went, that was a neat experience. And I just checked it off and I went on to the next one. I was like, I just kept like taking it that way. So when I think about jobs, so I wanted to share the way I approach things and why I use this reference is that in order to kind of get into the job hunt and to get going, you almost have to cast like put out multiple lines. It's kind of like Steve's cousin is a bass fisherman, right? He puts out 8 lines to find out where the bass are, right? To know where they're biting, because there's going to be a competition and he wants to win the competition, right? So this is how he does it. Well,
the secret spot.
All 8 aren't going to be worth his time. One might come in as a small fish, and one might come as the wrong fish, like he's looking for bass, not perch, right? It could be all these things. So, but he has to be willing to put his lines in the water. And sometimes what we're doing is we're just taking one and we're betting on one, and we're doing this and we're betting on one and we're getting nothing, and we're betting on one and getting nothing. And the truth is, it's exciting whether it's a perch or a bass when you're pulling it in. There's some energy in that. And when you start getting one, you start getting more, and you start getting more, and you start getting more, and you start getting more confident. Your energy goes, and your willingness to be in the whole experience increases.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to prime the pump. But
Yeah.
if you're fishing one,
Right.
and then that's the only experience that you're having.
Well, and also when you kind of are spinning off of that is like you don't have more, like you don't just have one friend.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you have multiple friends, and like some friends you go to for cooking advice, other friends you call up to have like a really crazy night out, and like there are some of those friends who like you call every time, like
yeah,
you need them, right?
They're
and
your people.
They're your people, right? But like I think it's very fun to see like just all aspects of life when you have those moments of like, is anyone listening? You know,
Mm-hmm.
kind of looking at your life and looking at how you're doing it in a different way, because that also kind of came up too of like what do I need to do? Like, you know, selling my guitar might give me more money, but if no one wants to buy my guitar, then like maybe I need to figure out a different way to get this $500 that I need, right?
Right. And so if our question is, this is a good example, right? If our question is, how do I sell my guitar? The only answers you're going to get are about selling the guitar. But if I say, how do I make $5,000 in the next 2 weeks? You're going to get a whole different set of answers.
Right.
Right. But what do you need? And if you find yourself that the one question isn't getting you anything, ask a different question.
Right. Well,
ask a bolder, bigger question.
Yeah. You know? Like, the more, it's just like when the more dates you go on, the more you realize like, ooh, I really do not like dating a person who like just doesn't tip the waiter well, because it reflects on their whatever, you know, or I don't really like a person who, you know, chews with their mouth open.
Right. Who smacks, right? When they chew, right?
I don't know. I'm making it up, guys. No, but, you know it, but like, you know.
But that what you're talking about is getting at what you really want.
Right.
And if you want to know the single biggest thing that's in most people's way, so getting back to, I know I'm, you know, going back to coaching or getting back to that, is that
I was going there too.
Sorry, it's so funny, but that's really like when you give yourself permission to want what you want and get support in focusing on that and giving yourself the courage to stay in that, even though it's really flippin' uncomfortable because everyone in your life has told you that's selfish, that's greedy, it's terrible, you really can't have what you want, life is too hard, that what we're doing is we're shifting an entire way of being into something that is more expansive. And it does require a willingness to be in the unknown. And the unknown is pretty uncomfortable. So, and it's probably, so that's probably, yeah, when I think about what I do, I'm like, I'm a Sherpa into the unknown. And if you know what a Sherpa is, you know, like climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, right? Or climbing Mount Everest, right? Back and forth, like, don't have to acclimate. I know exactly where we're going. We're going to do this. I love to be uncomfortable. Let's go. You know, I'll do it with great enthusiasm. And even in my own life, like, I don't always like being uncomfortable either. But I have people who do that for me and help guide me and help remind me. And it's important that we have that.
Yeah. Well, and it's also important then to really, because this was brought up and I didn't write it down and I thought I did about this tonight, but we talked about the ego and the self and like wanting what you want. Mm-hmm. And it kind of comes back to like you're like the being a child of God, and like this whole ego thing is kind of like, you know, like a self-construct of like, if you know you want it, like it's not necessarily like an ego thing. It's like you're acknowledging what you yearn for, and it's not egotistical to do that.
Right.
And I'm sure if like Michelle or Barb or Gail or anyone else on the call who was on tonight, like has a better, clearer thing about that and wants to write a little bit about that, go for it. But I really appreciated that, because I do sometimes feel like we are so caught up, or at least I am, in like, oh, I can't be egotistical, like, oh, this, like,
Well, not being trying not to be egotistical is egotistical.
right.
Really. It's like literally trying to overcome the ego is egoic.
Yes,
It's saying I am
that's
better
what
than
they
God.
said. Yes,
It is
and
an
that
egoic
was what it was.
action,
There we go. Good.
right?
That came out. Right.
Yeah, it's like we are trying to I know better than God does.
Yeah.
God put this in there, part of the mix. And my job is to overcome that. Instead, it's about like somewhere in there there's like balance. There's some weaving. And you know what, Gail, you just said this. I love that you said this.
Oh, Michelle.
Yeah,
She's
it's
got the quote.
inherent. It's not a mistake. That's
Thank
right.
you. I knew
And
someone would get it.
the fact that it's especially true as women, right? Women are like literally the sheer amount, like the rising in feminine energy around the planet is rising. And you want to know how you know feminine energy is rising around the planet? I will tell you, it is because just look at the number of laws around the world being designed to oppress women's
Yeah.
bodies, women's decisions
A lot
about
of
their
Texas.
bodies, women's decisions about everything. If you want to know what's going on, so what is the feminine, right? The feminine is the internal, it is the womb, it is that knowing, it is that all is encompassing within this body, right? And we've been told, no, you don't know what you know. You don't trust what you know. I know better than you. I will make decisions for you. I will make decisions about your body. It's out of whack.
Mm-hmm.
So we absolutely have this opportunity to come into a greater awareness every single one. And we'll have to end here pretty soon, but
Yeah.
I just want to say, because we've been I could talk all night. This has
I
been
know.
such a good conversation. But I think we as human beings have greater capacity than we allow ourselves to know. And what we do is we live up to an idea of this is too painful, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't, it's like a constraint, like, that's going to be painful. I don't want to touch it. And the truth is that
because it's going to hurt.
Right. Right. And think about this, Barb, I'm calling you out. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. But you and I had a conversation about being a mom. And with the second child, you kind of think there can't possibly be enough love, with the second child, because you love your first one like you don't love anything more than this, right? Like it's just love, and you just have so much love. And so the idea of a second child, you go, it's got to divide, right? I can't give up love for this one, like mentally you can't conceive that it's exponential. But that same thing is true of our capacity to love our way through our pain and our discomfort with each other and with the world. And we can't, it's not like, I'll just love you, I'll send you love. It's literally about being willing to be in the pain with each other, to be in the discomfort with each other. And through that, breathing through that and expanding through that so that love actually moves through us. That is a loving act. And we all have greater capacity for that than we realize. And the more that we can hold space with that, the more that we can allow for that, the more we allow in our vessel, right? Everyone in our life receives that. It's amazing. And if you're not familiar with it, I'll type this in. There is a meditation and practice. I'll call it a practice because it's really more of that. It's called Tonglen. It's a Buddhist practice, and it is where, as part of this practice, is that they breathe in the pain of the world into their heart space.
Oh,
Yeah, and you think about that, you
wow.
go, "Holy shit, no way, I'm empathic,
Woo!
not gonna do that," right? But they literally allow it to come into their heart space, and they breathe it in and into their heart space. Their heart space grows and expands with love, not with pain, with love. It like
Right.
transmutes it and breathe out love. And then you breathe in love into your pain, right? It is
Mm,
such a beautiful practice, and we don't know how much we have available to us, right? To be able to do that until we do it. And if there's one, I think that's kind of the theme of tonight, is that you can't know until you're in it. You can't know until you put
right.
yourself in the experience, right? So
Mhm.
that's kind of, I think, the overall theme tonight. Oh,
Oh,
Michelle, I
yeah.
felt like we were doing that tonight
Yes.
with each other. There was a lot. Like I said, I came out of the channel and it was just palpable, the amount of love. Like I was breathing in this liquid love. It was just beautiful. It was so powerful coming back into the group tonight. And that's the sacredness of the work that we do together in the group. And I just want to thank you. And Mary Catherine, I'm so glad we got to do this tonight. I hope everybody finds this helpful and kind of a nice. I think it's
It's
selfishly I enjoy it because I get to know
it's
what the
very
hell's going on.
human. I think it's just very human. Like we're just
Yeah,
having a conversation and like we can pick on my thought processes, which is good because like I'm sure I'm not the only one who thinks the way I think and like, I just like us being able to have like conversation.
yeah, I do too. And I love being able to have this conversation. It reminds me, it's as good as it was in the car on the drive home.
It
It's
was
so fun.
so good.
Maybe a little less animated, but
Yeah.
still good. Still good. And I hope everybody enjoyed this tonight. I want to thank you, Mary Catherine, for this wonderful suggestion and for holding space and spending an hour with me. Another hour.
Oh God,
Clearly,
so
we
tough.
enjoy each other.
Oh,
Well, I love you and I thank you and I bless everyone. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. And
and
we'll
then
be back next month.
people like, comment, all of this, find us on YouTube because the more you like and the more you share it, that tells us to keep going because otherwise we'll be like, no one likes it and we just stop doing it. And
True.
yeah. So, tell us because that's how we know.
Thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
tell us, let us know.
Let us
And
know.
feel free to share if you feel like this is helpful for anybody. Feel free to
Yeah.
share and just know I love you all. Thank you so much. And thanks, Mary Catherine. Love you.
Bye.
Bye.